In this video, I'm going to be breaking down Chiefs rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy's first 5 weeks of production. We're going to take a look at his profile, think about how he's best used, take a look at his counting stats, snap share, rush share, and target share throughout each week of the NFL season so far, then break down what we saw from him on film in week 5. By the way, I'm the fantasy football strategist. I'm collaborating with Fantasy Trading Room. I make my own weekly rankings videos, track backfield trends from week to week, as well as break down film on my own channel as well. And I also like to scout players, so during the offseason, I'm going to be checking out all of the rookies from the upcoming class. By the way, make sure you subscribe to Fantasy Trading Room. I'm going to be uploading here weekly, and yeah, you're going to like the content you see. When we think about Xavier Worthy, we think game-breaking speed. His 4.21 40-yard dash was an NFL record and is obviously, because of that, 100th percentile. Given his weight, he has a 77th percentile speed score, which is height and weight adjusted speed. His burst score of 135.2 is 96th percentile, and so that means he also has a great vertical and broad jump, and thus his catch radius of 10.28 is 91st percentile. A couple of interesting stats are his 1.95 yards of target separation so far is good for 21st in the NFL, and so that means when he's open, he's getting pretty open, and that's almost always a result of his game-breaking speed. When we look at his fantasy points per route run, his 0.43 is good for 33rd in the NFL, which is pretty good, but his 2.77 fantasy points per target is 6th. And while he hasn't been the best player in the sense of week-to-week fantasy consistency, on a per-target basis, he's been fantastic. When we take a look at his counting stats, in week 1 on 63% of the snaps, he had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown. He also had a 21-yard rushing touchdown, and so right out of the gate, he had 20.8 full PPR points. I think you have to be pretty happy with that. However, with him only having 3 total touches, it's incredibly unrealistic to expect 20 fantasy points per game, and so he came back down to earth. In week 2, he only had 4 targets, including 2 receptions for 17 yards and no touchdown. He finished the game with 4.2. In week 3, he had 4 targets, including 2 receptions for 17 yards and no touchdown, thus repeating his stat line from week 2. However, he only played 50% of the snaps. Then moving on to week 4, well, yes, he had 4 targets for a third straight game. He made the most of them in this one. He had 3 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown, and he put up 16.3 fantasy points. Coming into week 5, you kind of had a boom or bust expectation for him. He's boomed twice and busted twice. Well, it was a flex-worthy point output, I guess. He had 11.8. He, however, was targeted 6 times, and so that is a career high. In Rashee Rice's absence, it was going to be interesting to see as to what his target share was going to look like. However, through the air, at least when we look at his counting stats, we'll check out his film later, he didn't really do too much. He had 3 receptions for 25 yards and no touchdown. However, on a read option in the red zone with Travis Kelce, he did score a 3-yard rushing touchdown. When we take a look at the Kansas City receiving stat lines from week 5, looking at their wide receivers and tight ends, Juju led the team with 130 receiving yards on 7 catches on 8 targets. Travis Kelce led the team with 10 targets. He had 9 for 70. Xavier Worthy, however, was 3rd in targets with 6. He only had 3 for 25. We'll take a look at the film later, though. When we take a look at his week-by-week snap share, rush share, target share, and then counting stats, in week 1 he played 63% of the snaps. He finished with a 5% rush share and an 11.11% target share. He finished the game with 3 targets, 2 receptions, 47 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown, 1 carry for 21 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. Obviously, that level of efficiency is absolutely ridiculous and it's pretty likely that that's unsustainable. And so he came back down to earth in week 2. He played 68% of the snaps, had a 3.13% rush share, and a 17.39% target share. And so he only finished with 1 more total target, but he did jump up from 11% up to 17% in terms of his target share. He had a rush for 5 yards, but didn't record a touchdown in this game. In week 3, he played only 50% of the snaps. However, he did have a 9.09% rush share and an 11.11% target share. That was the second time in 3 weeks he had the same target share. And so he finished with 4 targets, including 2 receptions for 17 yards for his second game in a row. and his 3 carries for 13 yards gave you a little bit of a boost on the ground, but in terms of his fantasy performance, it was still pretty underwhelming. In week 4, however, he made the absolute most of it. He played 73% of the snaps, and that was a season high. He didn't record a rush, but he did have a 14.29% target share. But for the third straight week, it was still only 4 targets. But to be fair, he had 3 receptions for 73 receiving yards and a touchdown. It was a long bomb from Mahomes. And so you obviously were happy with that output. In week 5, he had a flex-worthy performance maybe, depending on your league size and starting lineup requirements. He played 67% of the snaps, and so that is down from week 4. However, he did record a rush. He did score a touchdown, obviously. And so his rush share of 2.56 is nice to see. And his 17.65% target share was the most in his career, as was his 6 targets. He only had 3 for 25, but he did score the rushing touchdown on the read option with Travis Kelce. And so if you started him, depending once again on your league size, you had to be reasonably happy with this output, especially compared to what we saw in weeks 2 and 3. On this first play, we have Xavier Worthy circled at the top of your screen. The Chiefs start out in bunch formation. They're going to have Juju go in motion this way before heading right back to Mahomes for a fake jet sweep. They're also going to do a run fake to Kareem Hunt. The goal is to get the defense to either bite inside here towards Kareem Hunt or towards the fake jet sweep, while Xavier Worthy is heading towards the flat here. And so the goal is to have him wide open, which hint is going to happen. And so Mahomes is going to throw it over the defender rushing towards him, and he's going to be wide open in the flat, and this is going to be a nice example of run after catch. The Saints are going to be in cover 1. Now, due to the confusing nature of this play, they're going to get all jumbled up, and this is going to lead to Xavier Worthy being wide open. Let's take a look. Here we have Juju going in motion before returning. He gets set. They fake here. And so you have Juju running this way. You have the fake to Kareem Hunt. Then you're going to have Xavier Worthy leaking underneath here. And so a lot of the defense crashes inside. There's 4 defenders for 1 single Travis Kelce here, and there's going to be nobody against Xavier Worthy. So he lobs it over him, and we see the 4-2-1 speed in action here. He gets out of bounds, and it's a nice chunk gain. On this next play, Xavier Worthy's circled at the top of your screen. The Chiefs are in 12 personnel. They're having Noah Gray run in motion. He's going to sit next to Travis Kelce. Xavier Worthy is going to go in motion. He's going to get a running head start as the ball's hiked. He's going to be running an out route. He would have had a ton of separation. However, this cornerback is going to hook him. The Saints are running cover 3, so these cornerbacks will be going deep. The safety will be deep. There'll be underneath defenders here. This cornerback is going to get a slight tug on him, so it's going to hinder his ability to get open. However, he still has a step. Mahomes is pressured, and so he's not really able to step into the throw, and so it ends up being incomplete, but he was going to have a ton of separation. Let's take a look. All right, Noah Gray gets set. Xavier Worthy's about to go in motion. He gets a running head start as it's hiked. Look at this sharp angle he's able to achieve here. He is going to have a ton of separation. If only he didn't get slightly tugged. Mahomes was being pressured, and so he wasn't able to step into the throw. And so it ends up being behind him and to the left. Man, if he was able to step into the throw and if Xavier Worthy wasn't held, that could have potentially been a long gain. On the third play I'm going to show you, Xavier Worthy is going to go in motion before running a drag route. Travis Kelce here is going to purposefully set a pick while pretending to run a drag route. They're going to have the running back run a wheel route out of the backfield. The purpose of this is to keep the defender in the middle of the field occupied with Travis Kelce while clearing out the cornerback on this side of the field so that Xavier Worthy could have a free completion and potentially get a lot of yards after catch. The Saints are going to be in cover 3, so this cornerback's going to be deep. Same with this guy and the safety. There's going to be one Chief underneath defender here, and by Chief, it's really a Saint, but he's going to get occupied with Travis Kelce, and so he is going to be wide open. Mahomes just misses him here. Let's take a look. So here Xavier goes in motion. All right, so take a look at Travis Kelce. He is looking directly at the linebacker that he's going to get in the way of. And so he purposely steps right in front of him while making way for Xavier Worthy to go underneath. And if you look at the running back here, he's looking for the ball. He is open, but the play is really designed for Xavier Worthy. And so you see Travis Kelce purposely gets in his way. Xavier does have to step underneath, though, to get around him. Mahomes just throws it behind him. He was wide open. With his speed, I would not put it past him being able to score a touchdown. But let's take a look in real time. All right, so Xavier goes in motion. He has to tuck a little bit. Mahomes just throws it behind him, and so it is incomplete, but Xavier Worthy was open, and if he would have been thrown an accurate ball, that's at least 10 yards, but potentially a touchdown given his speed. Here, Mahomes had the running back outside. He motioned him next to him so he could see what kind of coverage the Saints are in. They're going to be in cover one man. Xavier Worthy circled at the bottom of your screen. He's going to be running a fade route against Paulson Adebo. The Saints are going to be in man coverage, and so Paulson Adebo has him. This safety is going to be back. He's going to find a gap in between the safety and Paulson Adebo as he pulls ahead from Adebo. However, Mahomes throws the ball just a little bit short, and so he has to try to come back into Adebo to catch the ball. And so it ends up falling incomplete, but he did have a step. I'm telling you, like I said earlier, he almost had a really, really good game for us in fantasy. It's just that almost don't help us. Let's take a look. All right, so he starts to try to press him. He gets all the way around that press, and he starts to pull ahead. Mahomes just throws it a little bit short. If you like what you're hearing and seeing, feel free to like and subscribe, as well as to check out my personal YouTube channel, The Fantasy Football Strategist. Thanks. Xavier Worthy is lined up at the bottom of your screen here. Mahomes has the ability at the line of scrimmage to check into a hot route to Xavier if he notices that the Saints are in off coverage. They're going to be in off coverage, and so he's going to hit Xavier Worthy in the flat and try to see if he can get anything after the catch. It's only a gain of 5 yards, but it's nice to see that they're trying to get him the ball in space and see what he can create on his own. And so let's take a look here. All right, so Mahomes is side-eyeing the cornerback at the bottom of your screen, trying to see if he's going to stay in off coverage. He notices that he is, and so he immediately fakes the run and then passes it to Xavier Worthy in the flat. And so it's only a gain of 5 yards. But once again, it's nice to see that they're trying to get him the ball in space. This play is so cool and should have been a walk-in touchdown for Xavier Worthy. However, it ended up just going for 2 yards because the blocking wasn't adequate. The Chiefs are going to start in a bunch. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to go in motion as the ball's hiked. He's going to head upfield, and the goal is for him to get to the second level of the defense, while Trey Smith pulls and seals the edge. Xavier Worthy follows behind them, gets a shovel from Mahomes, and should have a walk-in touchdown behind them. Unfortunately, Trey Smith isn't able to seal the edge, which makes Juju have to do so, and then there's nobody to block into the second level of the defense. And so what should have been a walk-in touchdown only ends up being 2 yards. Let's take a look. All right, Juju goes in motion. They hike the ball. He shovels it to Worthy. It's looking good so far. This is where things go wrong, though. Trey Smith really needs to seal the edge. Unfortunately, he isn't able to do so, which makes Juju have to do it. And then he's not able to get to the cornerback here. And so what could have been a walk-in touchdown only ends up being a gain of 2. All right, so this is the play we've all been waiting for. Mahomes is lined up as a running back behind Travis Kelce, who's playing quarterback here. We have Carson Steele on the right and Xavier Worthy on the left of Kelce. What's going to happen here is the Chiefs are going to be running a read option. Carson Steele is going to lead block. And so Travis Kelce just has to read as to whether he wants to hand the ball off to Worthy or keep it himself. He's going to end up giving the ball to Worthy, and so Worthy just has to follow Carson Steele into the end zone, and it's a free touchdown. Let's take a look. All right, so he hands the ball off to Worthy. Carson Steele's about to get a good lead block. And wham, walk-in touchdown for Xavier Worthy. All right, so Xavier Worthy had a decent fantasy finish for us in week 5. However, it could have been much better than that. He almost had a second rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. If Trey Smith gets an edge, and then that allows Juju Smith-Schuster to get to the second level, he probably has another rushing touchdown. And if Mahomes doesn't throw the ball a little bit short, he probably has a receiving touchdown as well. And so it's nice that even though the volume isn't the best, plays are being designed specifically for him to be utilized in space, and he's being used to his strengths. We see that he isn't being asked necessarily to beat a lot of press coverage. He's being put in motion. He's getting touches out of the backfield. He's being put in a position to utilize his elite speed while not necessarily having to be quite so physical. And that's part of what makes Andy Reid such a great play caller, is that he knows how to utilize his players to their strengths. He isn't asking Xavier Worthy to be an alpha X wide receiver beating press coverage. He's putting him in motion and giving him schemed touches out of the backfield. And this is what's going to allow Xavier Worthy to develop as a player. And so with Rice out, we didn't see a massive increase in terms of total snap share, but he did set a career high with 6 targets. And so we do like to see that. And he's still being schemed touches out of the backfield, and he's being given opportunities to score for us in fantasy. In this Chiefs offense, the sky is the limit. This guy is an absolute freak of nature, and he is in the perfect situation to meet his potential. With that being said, if you like what you've seen and heard, feel free to like and subscribe, and feel free to check out my personal channel, The Fantasy Football Strategist. And yeah, thank you, and have a good day.